Alright, so in the previous video, we created the authentication for this application, but in this video, we're gonna create the home page. Hold on just 1 second. I am offering free coaching to those of you who need help in JavaScript development, Flutter development, and most front-end or full-stack JavaScript frameworks. If you're not opposed to receiving some help, message me through Discord at 8dang. I'll be sure to include my tag below, but remember, I might not be able to help with everything, but I'll try my best. But with that out of the way, let's get back into the video. So, the first thing we're gonna do is open up the terminal and run npm run dev, and then open up a new terminal instance, and inside of that one, let's open up the PocketBase folder, and then run /PocketBase serve. So then we can close these terminals, and in the components folder, let's create a new file called post component.svelte. Alright, so once you have the post component open, let's create a script tag with a language property set to TS. Let's import all the necessary inputs that we need. Then we're gonna export two properties. So we're gonna have two properties on this component. One is the post and one is the auth model for the user to determine whether the user is logged in or not. So then we're gonna create a content ref which refers to the div that contains all of the code for this component. So we're gonna create an on mount which just highlights the content ref. So then we're gonna create a header inside of the markup, and it's just gonna contain an h1 element, and conditionally if the user is the poster of this post. So if the user posted, we're going to set a form that points to the delete post action that we're going to create in a second. So then we're also going to create a button inside of here so that we can actually delete this form. So then we're going to create a pre tag with the language right here. So this is going to contain the language of the actual post. This is going to contain the code of the actual post itself. So when you post a post, there's gonna be two inputs. One is the language and one is the content. Obviously there's more inputs, but these are the two main ones. So then below this, we're gonna create a section that contains the tags. So we're gonna loop over the tags and just display the tags as a tag. We're gonna create a section with a class of actions. So then we're gonna create an anchor tag that points to the user that posted this post, and we're gonna create an if statement saying that if the user has a photo, we're gonna render the photo out. And if they don't have the photo, we're just going to display an icon, which is just going to be the account. We're going to display their name right next to their image or the account circle. And below this, we're going to add some interactions. So if the user's logged in, we're going to allow them to like. And right here, this is the use enhance function, so we don't do a full re-render. And we're going to create a button inside of this use enhance that every time we like the photo, it re-renders. So it updates again, and we're going to do a fade transition every time it re-renders. So it's basically just a heart icon that is filled when we like it and is not filled when we don't like it. So then below here, we're going to create a style tag, and the first one is going to be the pre. So the pre tag, we're going to give it just a max height. We're also going to give it position relative because we want to position the different elements inside of them relative to the pre. We also want to make the alignment vertical. And below this, here are the styles for the code, header, and h1. By the way, if you have trouble keeping up with the videos, you could always find my GitHub link in the description, and you could follow through copy and pasting if you choose to. And below this, let's style the language property. So a language tag is basically inside of this pre, we're going to display the language that the user has. And we're going to set the actions. So the actions is like the like and so on. And then we're going to style the account so that it is aligned horizontally. And then we're going to create the interactions and also the iconify icon. So the icon for the interactions, we're going to style it as well. Then we're going to create the light, and we're going to style the image and the account image, that if they don't have an image, we want to set the account icon to 32 pixels as the width and the height. And then we're going to style the tags so that every single tag has hashtag before the actual content. And that's it. Now we can close this file, and in the routes folder, we can create a new folder called parentheses app parentheses. And this parentheses notation in SvelteKit allows us to create shallow routing, which allows us to create layouts inside of this folder that don't apply to the auth. We'll see how that looks like in a second. So in here, we're going to create a new file called plus layout.server.ts. We're going to import validate user and layout server load, which is an auto-generated type from the npm run dev. So then we're going to create a load function that satisfies this layout server load and takes in one parameter, which is going to be the locals. And here, let's create an if statement saying that if the user is logged in and the user object is actually valid, we're going to return authenticated is true, and we're going to pass the auth model as the user model. So if they are not logged in and or they are not a valid user, we're going to say that the authenticated object is false. So right here, this is just defaults to false, and the auth model set to undefined. So now we can close this file. So in the app folder, let's create a new file called plus layout.svelte. We're going to create a script tag with the lang property set to TS, and we're going to import the actual data that we need to for this component. And then we're going to get access to the layout data that we created right here. So this just gives us access to the authenticated object and the object that we get passed down from the server. So then below, if you want, you can uncomment this and allow the highlight.js to apply the default styles to your code. So then below this, we're going to create a class. We're going to create a div with the class of main. Inside here, we're going to create an aside. So this is going to be the sidebar. And on the top of the sidebar, we're just going to have the logo. So if this, so the MD show property is just going to be like, if the width of the screen is bigger than a certain amount, we're gonna show code share, and if it's not, we're gonna just show CS. So then below, we're gonna create a divider for here and a section that contains all the links for the application. The first one is obviously the home link, and inside of this if block, we're gonna check if the user is authenticated, and if they are, we're gonna show a link to their profile, and inside the profile, we're gonna create an if else statement checking that if they have a photo, we're gonna display the photo. If they don't, we're just gonna show the account circle, and we're just gonna create a span right next to it that just says profile. So then below this, we're gonna create the settings link. And by the way, this is all inside the authenticated. So if they are authenticated, they're gonna see it. But if they are authenticated, all they're gonna see is the home link. So then let's create another section below this with the icon links. So the icon links is basically once the screen is smaller than a certain size, having text as the links is just takes up way too much width. So I switched it up and went with icons on smaller screens. So then right here, we're going to create a link with the home icon. So as you can see, these links are the same, but instead of having text content, all we're going to do is just have the actual content as icons. So then we're going to wrap it on. We're going to wrap the settings and the profile links in a data.authenticated. So then we're going to say if the user is authenticated, we're going to show these icon divs, these icon links. And now below us, we're going to show some actual links again. But instead of these links being generic links to places inside the application, this is going to be a link to either the new. So this is either going to be a link to create a new post, or it's going to be a link to authenticate the user. So then below this, we're going to create another links, which is basically going to be the same thing as this, but the smaller version of it. So as you see, it's just log in or add. And below this, we're just going to add a main with this lot inside. So now we're going to create a style tag. And inside here, we're going to position the .main container as horizontally aligned. And we're going to create the aside so that it actually stands out. We're going to give it a background color. We're going to give it an overflow scroll. So it's basically a sidebar where all the links are going to be placed. So then below this, we're going to style the divider, and we're going to style the top, which is basically the header. And then we're going to style the H1, the main, and we're going to say that by default, the MD show. So by default, we're assuming that the width of the screen is smaller than we want it to be. So by default, we want it to display none, and the MD height we want it to actually display. And we're going to style the links so that it is horizontally aligned. The links content also is not horizontally aligned, vertically aligned. The links is going to be vertically aligned, and the links content is going to be horizontally aligned. So then we're going to style the iconify and the image tags. We're also going to apply some styles to the link content, the icons. And now you see that if the width of the screen is greater than 800, we're going to say that we're going to show the MD show, and we're going to hide the MD hide, obviously, and we're going to adjust the width of the sidebar and the icons, etc. So then we can close this file, and in the app folder, Let's create a new file called pluspage.ts. We're going to import all the things that we need, and we're going to create a load function that satisfies the page load. This is auto-generated type, by the way. And now we're going to get an instance to the PB store. So then we're going to validate to see if the PB instance is actually valid, so it's not null. And if it is null, we're just going to return that the results are not found. So then let's create a try catch block, and inside here we're going to create an asynchronous function, which we're going to get the posts in. So we're going to query the post saying that we want to get the first 15 results of the post, and we want to sort them by their date. So then we're going to return these posts, we're going to loop through them, and we're going to convert them into a post and record model. So then we're going to say the post is going to be the current, and we're going to say if the current.expand is null, we're just going to return the previous. So basically, we're expanding on the user. So every time we query a result, we want to get the user information. We say post.user is equal to, so then we're going to make sure that we set the post.user to the expanded version of the user. So by default, this post.user is a string, actually. And now that we could actually validate the post, we're going to validate it. And if it's not validated, we're just going to return the previous. We're not going to add this current post into the previous because it's invalid. And if it is valid, we're going to add this post into here. And we're going to go to the next loop until we finish the end. So now, instead of awaiting the get post, we're going to return get post as a stream. So in SvelteKit, we can stream promises from the server to the client, and we could get results as a stream, so it's asynchronous. So basically, this allows us to not fetch it in the server, because honestly, fetching it from the server takes a long time and it was really slow. So I figured that I would just send it as an asynchronous function as an await call, and I would await it in the client, and the client would take care of rendering it out and everything, etc. So now, if there are any errors, let's catch them right now. We're just going to say that the results are not found. So now let's save, and now we can close this file, and here we can create a new file called pluspage.svelte. So now once you have this file open, create a script tag with the line property set to ts, and let's import the post component from the components folder. So we could get access and display all of the posts that we get access to, and we're also get the data from the server. And now let's say that the title of this page is going to be home, and below this we're going to create a div with a class of container, and now we're going to say if the results are not found. So if there was an error that occurred in the server whatsoever, or the results were not found, we're just going to say that no posts were found. And now if the posts were found, or if we're waiting, we're going to send an await call saying that while we're waiting, we're just going to say loading posts, obviously. And then below here, once we get the posts, we're going to render them out like this. And once we render them out, we're going to say that each one of these posts is going to be an article. Also here, saying no post found, just like here. And now let's create a style tag. And you see that we style the container so that it is vertically aligned and it has a gap in between the items. And here you can see that in the article, we have some background, border, and it allows us to style the content inside of here. So now let's check out the code and let's see how it looks like on the client. So let's go over to the server right here. So now you see how we're loading posts because there are no posts. But if we go to PocketBase and let's go to the admin UI, let's go to PocketBase, remember to sign in. And now let's go over to the post collection. Let's create a new record. And let's say the title is test content. Let's say const test is equal to test. And the tags, obviously we can't set them to null. It has to be an array of strings. Wait, test right here. And the user, let's say that the user is just test, set selection. The language, we can't say TypeScript because TypeScript is not supported by highlight.js as TypeScript, but it does support TS, so we're going to say it like that. And the likes, we're going to set no likes. So now let's create this record and let's refresh. And you see that we see the post and it's loaded. And we could even go to the profile of the person that created it. And you see that we haven't created this page, but you see that it displays it like this. Wait, let's add some more content into this snippet. So then let's say content like this. Wait, no. Right here. Like that. Right there. And you see that we get access to the highlight, to the tags and stuff. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video served you value. Let me know on this fast-paced content. Let me know if it's too fast, too slow. Give me feedback, please.